I'm a couple minutes early because I can't tell time. Actually, I need glasses is really the case here. So I'll give you a second to get your notification. Then you can hippity hop right on here and we'll get rolling. We're going to talk about something really cool tonight. We are going to talk about entity energy and what it is. This is something that I probably, let's see, honestly, I probably ignored this my entire life because I was scared of it. Because it's not like I didn't know that it was there. I've had issues where, good morning, hello, let's try that again. Hello, Michelle, good evening. I've had things happen to me in the past where I probably was well aware that there was something there, but it's kind of like a taboo thing to talk about for a lot of people and a lot of religions. And also, like, do I really want to tell anyone that I might see or feel something because I don't want anyone to think I'm crazy? So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about it. We're going to dive into it. We're going to get comfortable with it. And I'm going to explain some things to you. So hopefully you can have a little bit of a woohoo moment yourself, or have some clarity around it in case this is something that you've often thought about or wondered about. So the first caveat here, the first thing that I'm going to tell you is, okay, if you follow me enough, you know that I'm really big on this, but I'm just going to emphasize this. Believe in what you feel comfortable believing in. I'm going to say it again because you really need to know that. Believe in what you feel comfortable believing in. I am not here to sway your belief pattern. I'm not here to have you join a religion. I'm not here to have you become something that you're not. I want you to believe in what you believe in, and I want you to let whatever that is for you resonate with you. Okay, that's not what I'm about at all. I'm not ever going to be here to push you to believe something that doesn't feel right for you. So we are going to talk about this in some really general terms, from people that have a really traditional Christian background to people that believe in a higher divine power that they're not really sure what that is, to people that don't even know what they believe in, to people that don't believe in any of that and just think, you know what, I came here, I was created out of matter, and here I am. And you know what? This is a safe space. So whatever you believe in, whatever that is for you, then we're so totally respectful for it. We don't earn any additional points here in the afterlife or heaven or whatever that is for you either by being jerks to other people based off of what they believe. Okay, so I'm going to talk about this in a couple of different terms. So first of all, I don't want you to think of, when I say entity energy, let's be on the same definition. Entity energies or negative energies come in all shapes, sizes, and forms. And I'm not talking about the guys on Harry Potter. I was going to look up the names of them. Who are those guys that are flying around outside of the castle? And like one of the later Harry Potters, like he sees them when he's on the train. You know what I'm talking about? They're the like really long bodied, like flowing, creepy looking guys. Because when I say entity, that's what I think of. It's like the dudes on Harry Potter. And I don't know about you, but I'm not super comfortable thinking that those are the dudes flying around in my house or attaching themselves to me. So I can't for the life of me remember what they're called. Someone look it up. Somebody's got to know. Come on, Harry Potter fans. I love Harry Potter, actually. But I am also a very short attention span person. I can't watch a movie that I've watched once. I can't watch it more than once because if I know what's happening, I'm so freaking bored that I can't watch it again. And I know there are people that watch like the same movie all the time. And if I have already seen something, I cannot watch it again. I guess maybe I would think about it if it had been like 15 years since I'd seen it. But I just get so bored. I can't watch it again. I don't know why, but I just thought about the movie E.T. because I was thinking about, well, what's a movie that I haven't seen for that long? I will never watch that show. My mom will tell you I have a traumatic experience from that movie. I have had to actually clear some trauma energy around the movie E.T. It was horrifying for me. My mother took me to see it when it came out in the movie theater. So I might be aging myself, but yes, I'm the beautiful age of 41. So however old I was when E.T. came out, I couldn't have been a whole lot older than maybe 5. I mean, maybe earlier than that because it totally freaked me out. The part where they have his whole house like plasticed off and everybody, I've only watched it that one time. So if I get some of these details wrong, bear with me because I was a child and it was very traumatizing. But they have like his whole house blocked off or something. I don't know if it's like in the name of science. I don't know what they're doing. But I think ET gets like isolated from everyone else. And I just remember that being really emotional for me. And I remember crying. And so I do not ever want to watch that movie again. Okay, so let's talk about entities versus negative energies from a person versus parasitic entity energies versus stuck energy attached to spaces. And you're really going to want to stay with me for this because I have something that I'm going to tell you at the end of this that is something that my previous spouse actually showed me or asked me to do. And I will tell you what, I have ignored impressions that I have gotten from people that have passed away before, and it does not end well for me because they're very persistent. They will not stop. So if they're bothering you, you just need to take a second and listen. And if you're like, I have no idea how to do that, it's just like anything else that I teach you where you need to quiet your mind. So you get into a space where you get relaxed. You almost get, and it's a very meditative space where you feel like you potentially could fall asleep or almost pass out is how I will explain it to you. Or for those of you that are really along the religious mindset, it's kind of like when we call it in the religious background that I came from, when you feel the spirit. It's kind of like that. You're just feeling very peaceful, very relaxed, and things can come to you. So like, I tell people that are like, oh, I can't feel anyone talking to me. I'm like, well, I guarantee you they're there. You just need to quiet your mind. You're trying too hard. You need to quiet your mind. You're way too attached to your physical body and not attached enough to your spiritual presence. And that's the only reason. Like, stop viewing yourself as a physical form because that's really not what you are. You are very much a spirit, very much an energy that is hosting a little party inside of this physical body. Okay. So let's talk about the first one. Let's talk about entity energies. So once again, we're not talking about the guys on Harry Potter. Why do I think they're called like screamers or screechers or something? I don't know. Really? Someone look it up. I don't know. Maybe you're commenting and I just can't see it because I can only see Michelle's comment, or maybe you just don't want to chat with me. Oh, just kidding. Okay. So entity energies. What the heck is an entity energy? So yes, they can be an energy from a person that's passed away. They can be just a negative energy that is brought from a different, I don't want to call it a dimension. I'm not really into sci-fi. So that to me sounds a little over the top to me, but if it resonates with you, go ahead and use that word. A different dimension, a different universe, a different whatever. The Dementors. Yes. Okay. Death Eaters, something like that. Yeah. Like those guys, right? Anyway, just know that an entity energy is just not from this specific space. Okay. So we can entice them. I like to refer to them as they're like the stray animal, the stray cat, the stray dog, whatever. What happens when you start feeding? You look outside and you're like, oh, there's a cat, and you feel bad for it, so you feed it, right? That's kind of how these things work. Basically, they feed off of a negative vibration. So what is the negative vibration? It's when we feel fear. It's when we feel worry. It's when we feel depression. It's when we feel anxiety. It's when we're frustrated, we're angry. All of those, okay? So I had a client come to me once and she was like, man, I have to clear like 90 entities every morning when I wake up. Now, I'm a little bit of a sassy practitioner, so if you're coming to me to be coddled, I am not the person for you. But I was like, okay, let's look at this for a second. I said, instead of waking up every morning and clearing 90 entities, we should ask ourselves, why are these entities attracted to me? And she was like, oh, yeah, that's a good point, right? Because I'm like, yeah, I don't wake up and have to clear 90 entity energy. So I'm sure there was a point in my life where I probably had that many entities attached to me, but now is not that time. So I said, look, here's the thing, sister. You got to figure out, what are you vibrating at a level of where these things are wanting to eat at your house. Okay. It's no different than asking yourself, why are all the stray cats over at my house? And I'm like, why do you have a dish of cat food in the garage? Right. It's actually really that simple. So what are these things feeding off of? If you've had a session from me and we have found an energy attachment, a lot of times I will tell you, oh, this entity is feeding off of your sorrow, your loneliness, your depression, whatever. Okay. So, we're going to talk about a hard word right now. So if this is triggering for some of you, just realize that I think it's really important to talk about, but know that I'm in your boat, right? Because having been a survivor of someone taking their life, but talking about suicide is really important when it comes to entity energies, because if you have ever had someone pass away from suicide, the first thing that goes through your head is, how in the world did this happen? And it's really hard as the surviving person to understand how in the world someone can do this. And so this was something I dug into a lot because I really needed an answer for myself. I needed to understand what exactly happened. So in communicating and allowing this open channel for me to be able to receive an impression was highly impressionable to me, that definitely when someone does this or makes this decision, they are not alone. It is not they are not in a beautiful cognitive or subconscious or any type of a space. Okay. They have so much weight from negative vibrational energy and so much weight from these negative energy attachments that they just can't mentally or physically bear the burden anymore. And the only thing that they have going on in their head is trying to end the pain. And that is it. Because people are like, how could they do this to me? How could they leave their kids? How could they yada, 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 yada? You guys, they're not thinking about any of that. They're not thinking about any of that. When you get into that space where you have that much of a negative energy attachment, you don't think about that anymore. And that's how it happens. Because if you are not at that place yet where you have been completely consumed by this energy, you can think about your kid and it will snap you out of it. And you'll be like, okay, yeah, that's not really what I want to do. Right. And I've said that before, like, I'm here because of my kids. I've had that thought before. I have fought my way out of it because I don't want to leave my family, whatever that is. Right. Because the energy hasn't fully encompassed. But the more that you stay in that space, the more that you give for them to feed off of, and the more you become completely consumed to the point where it's just too much and you can't have that burden anymore. So an entity energy can be something that is, I've seen, well, here's a great example. So I have a client, she was talking about, I've seen this multiple times. So I have a client or a clients who have someone that they've been dating or something. Okay. This is a good example. Dating someone who is not involved in great activities. Okay. So they're doing something that is mentally harmful, doing something addictive, doing something like that. It's just not a higher vibrating thing, right? There's a huge difference between engaging in some not so healthy habits and, cooking dinner for the sick family next door, right? One of those initiates higher vibrational energies. The other one initiates lower vibrational energies. So the problem is when you have someone like this that's in your home or your personal space, which is why people are like, don't understand why I freak out when people come to my house. It's because, yeah, I don't know what you're bringing with you. Honestly, you can view other people, think of it as like they're running around with like mites or ticks on them. That's what you can think of it as far as negative energies go. You can't see them, but they walk in your door and then the little buggers start jumping off of people. And then what do? They're like, oh, you look delicious. And they jump onto you. And that's how these things get transferred. So if somebody comes to your house, and especially if they're doing some of these activities in your home, they can open up a space to allow more of these. I should call them cooties and energy cooties. I like that word better than entities. Energy cooties to come into your home, to come into your space, to attach themselves to you, right? I might be the only energy healing practitioner with a sense of humor, but whatever. When you go through the stuff that I've gone through, you just become like morbid sense of humor. I actually will tell you something. It will horrify all of you, but it's too funny not to share. Okay, so we're going to move on after I tell you this story. So we did entity. We're going to talk about negative energies from people in a second. I'm pretty sure my friend wanted to pass out and fall off her chair today. So we were talking about getting pulled over by cops and some of the things that you say and some of the things that they say, right? And whatever, just sometimes when you do stupid stuff when you're younger, and maybe you're still doing stupid stuff when you're older, whatever that is for you. But anyway, when Kinley passed away, we didn't want to send our sweet baby from Salt Lake City to where we live. It's a 2-hour drive. Dave and I both just had this weird thing with thinking like, we don't really want someone to pick up our daughter and bring her to the mortuary. I can honestly tell you, looking back at it now, I've healed a lot more. So I'm like, I don't know so much that it would bother me in the same aspect as it did then, because I can feel her and I know that that was such a temporary thing for her to pass away. But I'm going to tell you this story. So we carried her home. The beautiful nurses at, hello, Amber, thank you. The beautiful nurses at Primary Children's helped us to give her a bath and helped us to wrap her up in this beautiful flannel yellow blanket. Okay, so she was all wrapped, completely covered. In fact, she looked like a baby burrito is what she looked like. So she wasn't, none of her, you couldn't see any of her, right? She was completely wrapped up in this blanket. So Dave drove home. We had our camper. Because, you know, it was a party down there, not really, because that's what I was living in. So we had to drive from Salt Lake back to the mortuary here in Cache Valley. And I told Dave on the way home, I'm like, I hope we get pulled over. And he's like, what? And I'm like, I want to get pulled over so bad. I want the cop to pull us over. Can you imagine? I mean, imagine what in the world is the cop going to say? Can you imagine he walks or she walks up to the window, rolls down the window. So, I mean, you know, she's like yay big because she's wrapped up in this huge blanket and is like, so what do you have there? My dead baby? Or no, you know, it would have to go something like this. I would be like, oh, it's my daughter, right? What's the cop going to say? So it's illegal to have your daughter on your lap. And I'll be like, yeah, but she's dead. And then he would be like, I'm sorry. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine? I know this is morbid, but you have to just imagine like how this would have gone down. And, you know, like me, because this is just how I am, I'd be like, yeah, so it doesn't really do any good to put her in the car seat because she's already passed away. The cop's going to be like, honestly, he's thinking to himself, like, what in the ever living is going on, right? Because then, like, are we getting asked to get out of the truck, put our hands on the side, you know, like, did you kill your daughter? Like, what is going on? I mean, I really just wish it would have happened because it would have been the best story of my entire life. I mean, no one else could have probably have shared that. But anyways, it didn't happen. Okay, so there you go. You guys, that's what happens when you heal. Like you don't get triggered. It's not that you don't care. It's just, this is just a temporary reality. And honestly, I think I will tell you too, that I know my daughter, I feel my daughter, I can communicate with my daughter, and she has a sense of humor like nobody's business. In fact, she thought it was funny when she was passing away, they offered to let us give her medication. So if you've ever watched someone pass away, sorry, there's a lot of triggering going on here. They go through a death rattle when they breathe at the end. And I was like, I don't want to watch my baby go through that. And they're like, okay, well, we can help her so she'll pass away peacefully. They had to give her so much medication. And at one point I made the comment, I said to the nurse, and I know this is horrible, but once again, this is just me. I said to the nurse, well, if she wasn't going to die anyway, you're definitely killing her with the amount of medication that you're giving her. And the nurse was like freaked out. She was like, that is not what we are doing. And I was like, okay. Anyway, I had this impression when she was passing away that she thought it was hilarious that they had to give her as much as they would give like a grown 250-pound man, because she was like, she wasn't having it. And she thought it was funny. So there you go. Okay. Moving right along. Negative energy from a person. What is a negative energy from a person? You guys, I don't have to tell you what a toxic person is. You've all felt them. You know them. They probably, some of them live with you. Negative energy from a person is just an attachment that someone has their negative energy attached to you. So I like to think about vampiric energy. We're not talking about realistic vampires. We're talking about people that literally are sucking your energy from you, right? You go to lunch with them and then you're like, why did I do that? Because you feel horrible. They're usually people that are negative. They complain a lot. They're manipulative. They're liars. And entities also can have characteristics. Sometimes when we do an energy clearing and we see an entity, I'm like, ooh, this is an energy of a lot of lying. Like I can feel energy of a liar or something like that. Manipulative, power, hungry, stuff like that. So these negative energies can attach themselves to you just like they can from an entity, but they are given off by other people. Okay. Then another one we like to call is like a parasitic entity energy. And those ones are kind of the same, only slightly different, because they usually, they kind of have sort of the same effects of what you think of a parasite of, like, think of, like we talked about ticks or something. They're just basically really feeding off of you, but sometimes they're in like more of a form of like what a parasite would be, or a virus or a bacteria. And so those are just energies of things that can become attached to you, that you can absorb from other people that have them. They can be just energies that are hanging out like those other ones. And then the last one we're going to talk about here is, and remember this one because this is going to come up in a minute, stuck energy attached to spaces. You ever been somewhere and you're like, it feels really weird, feels really creepy. And then later someone tells you, oh, this happened in that space. Or, this happens a lot when people buy houses and then people are saging everywhere, or you get a car and you're like, something feels weird here. And then maybe you do find out that someone passed away in your house, or, someone passed away in your car, or something like that. Who knows? Who knows what kind of weird stuff's going on in a car, right? So that is stuck energy attached to spaces. Stuck energy can be attached to spaces. Stuck energy can be attached to relationships. Stuck energy can be attached to anything. And so we want to clear out that trapped stuck energy. Okay. All right. So why do we care about these things? They are a heavy weight. They are a burden to you. They can make you actually physically feel heavy. They can make you emotionally feel heavy. They can create emotions for you that you otherwise would not really have had. And they kind of lock you in to that negative space. So if I happen to be really depressed and I have a negative energy of some kind attached to me, then I now have created almost a block to getting rid of that depression energy, because it's like feeding the cat in the garage. It's just going to stay there now because I've invited it in. Now I know that I didn't purposefully invite it in, but that's just how it works. Yeah, Michelle, my grandma's house, she died there. My grandpa and my aunt, so lots of weird energy. Yeah, there's lots of weird energy going on with stuff like that. The house that I live in now, actually, the previous owner's daughter passed away, not in the house, but I had to clear some energy from the fact that she lived here when she passed away. She was in a car accident, but still trapped energy in spaces. Okay. So heavy weights. Sometimes you can see them. For those of you that are really empathetic or have to be very sensitive to this kind of stuff, sometimes you can see them. Now, sometimes they're just little glimpses and you'll catch it out of the corner of your eye, and then you're going to question yourself and be like, did I just see something? And we had a joke going a little while ago, and I might have already shared this with you guys, that I was like, there's a gerbil running around the house, because I kept seeing it. And we have a space in our hallway outside of our laundry room, and that's for some reason where I can usually see things that are going on. And so I jokingly said we have a gerbil going on, because I had seen it really close to my bedroom, and I had seen it in the kitchen, and then finally my renter came and talked to me and said, have you seen the kid? Have you seen the child energy that's here? And I was like, well, actually, yes, but these types of things are so common for me that I don't really pay probably as much attention as I should, because usually they start really bothering me if they need something. And it's probably why is because this energy wasn't here for me. And my renter had explained to me that he actually had saw it, and it was his little brother that had passed away. And I was like, yes, very much so. And he was telling me like some of the things that he thought was going on. And it made complete sense, because he's the same age as Tayson, that he's up here running around because he's attached to Tayson's energy, but in a good way. So entities are not always bad. But sometimes you can see them. So that, messes with you a little bit, because you feel like you might be a little on the crazy train. They can affect your body energy, your spiritual energy, your body energy, the whole flow. So they can block the energy flow, just like trapped emotions, just like stressors. So when that energy block happens, then we end up with problems, with pain, with emotional issues, with all kinds of stuff going on. And so that's why it's important to clear them out. We talked about it. Why is this happening? Because they feed on negativity. So that's why when I asked that practitioner, like, why do you have 90 entities that you have to clear every day? She should clear them. But the first thing you want to work on is like, hey, vibrate at a higher level. I have a joke that I'm like, yeah, negative energies don't like me because I'm too vibraciously, chaotically energy vibing high. Because when I start vibrating low, I catch it right away, right? So no entity energy wants to hang out with the happy person. That's just they're not into that. They don't like it. You're yucky to them. It's like feeding cats lettuce. I really like this cat symbology today. It's like feeding cats lettuce. They're like, no, I'm not. I'll go to the neighbors. Okay. All right. Let's talk about how they're not always negative. So this is really important. For those of you that are like, hey, I'm really interested in, if you haven't heard me talk about it, I'm putting together my own program, my own course, because I have found too many gaps in everything that I've used as far as energy methodologies go. And I'll talk about that a little more in a minute, but this is one that I really don't see a lot of anything that I've studied talking about this, but it happens. And so I'm like, we just need to address this. So not every entity energy is negative. Sometimes people are asking for help. Okay, it makes sense, right? There's something going on that they have what we call a stuck energy, a stuck feeling, a stuck soul, whatever you want to talk about. So I have seen people come to me through clients because they want the client to help them release a inherited trapped energy. They want the client to help them release an energy from a relationship. They want the client to know about how they feel about them. I've done lots of sessions where I have a family member that's passed away, like a parent, and they simply just want to let the surviving person know that they're sorry for something, or that they love them, or that they're there, just to give them that message. So sometimes it's super simple like that. I'm going to tell you about something, but I think I'm going to wait to tell you about that in a second. So now my kid's going crazy. You're going to start to hear the dog barking. Okay, here's the question of the day. How do we get rid of these, right? It's actually really simple. So we tend to overcomplicate everything when we can actually fix everything with one simple word, and it's called intention. Now, once again, I'm going to come back to this caveat. Believe in what you feel comfortable believing in. So if you're sitting there and you're like, oh, that's not what I think, then you know what? You do that. I totally respect it. You do what feels good for you. This is just what has resonated with me and what I found with the clients that I'm working with and the things that, feel correct to me. But I totally respect whatever. So how do we get rid of these? Intention. It's super simple. Now you're going to run around. You're going to run around. You're going to find lots of people that are going to be like, oh, there's specific wording that we have to say in order to release these. Super. If that's your belief, then you go with it, because guess what? That's your belief. So that's what you have to do, because that's what you believe. We create our own reality, guys. So if you believe that you have to say certain words to clear an entity, then you have to say certain words to clear an entity, because that's the reality that you've created. Crazy, huh? Intention. It's as simple as that. So basically is how I do it is, yes, sometimes things flow to me and I'll start jabbering, saying specific things like, hey, just want to give you comfort, release you, go toward this energy, light, whatever. But sometimes I'm just like, hey, with intention, we're going to release this cord that's binding you. Goo, boom, gone. And then I'm like, is it gone? Yes. Okay. And if I get a no, then I'm just like, okay, whatever. There's not a, exorcism that has to take place. I'm not sprinkling salt in a circle. None of that's going on. They don't have as much power as you give them if you don't believe that they have as much power as you give them. Once again, what is it that I believe? Okay. So getting rid of them. In my experience, negative energies and entity energies can attach to you simply based off of the vibrational level of your feelings, fear, anger, depression, all that. Okay. But here's the cool thing. You are a divine being. You have a beautiful energy. You have a fantastic soul. You have the divine gift to heal yourself, balance yourself, and be at this beautiful, balanced, higher vibrational level. Negative things cannot be attached to you if you ask them to depart. I'm going to say that again. They can attach to you based off of how you're vibrating, but they cannot stay attached to you without your permission. The problem is we don't talk about any of this. And so how many people are running around with negative energies, negative entity attachments, because they just don't know that they have the power to be like, hey, no, this is my divine being. This is my soul. This is my body. This is my whatever. You do not have the right to be here. Once you do that, they can't be attached to you. Now, can you attract more? Yeah. If you stay in the vibrational state and you're feeling crappy, then yes, you're just going to attract more. Just like you can't shoo the cat out of the garage and shut the door, but then leave the bowl of cat food there and then keep opening the door to go to work every day. The cats are going to come back. So you have to get yourself into a higher vibrational space. That's the tricky part. It's not the actual getting rid of them. It's the getting rid of the reason that you're attracting them. Okay. So intention, it's that simple. Like I said, there's no magic spell. There is a magic spell if you want to create one, though, by all means. If you think that you want to create a magic spell and it resonates with you, then make one. Make a casting out of whatever little word you want to say. Okay. Let it resonate with you. Your subconscious knows how to get rid of them. You've just forgotten how to do it. Your subconscious knows how to do it. You know how to heal yourself. You've just forgotten how to do it. Like one day when you pass away, you'll be like, whoa, that was pretty cool. Wish that I would have done that while I was there. Okay. So now we're going to talk about two things. We're going to talk about something really cool that I was shown that I need to do, and I'm going to actually share it with you. And we're going to talk about how you can learn more about how to do this. Okay. So first, we're going to talk about my impression from Shane. I don't know how well you can hear my kid, but this is what goes on all day long. He calls on his gizmo and you can hear him, and the dogs and he are just absolutely destroying my house. But he's laughing. So okay, so my husband Shane, we got married when I was in high school during Thanksgiving vacation. So I had a very toxic childhood, some sexual molestation from the age of 2 to 10-ish minimum. Did not get along with my dad at all. Like we have what's called a temperamental mismatch. It's just when two people cannot connect. So my dad and I, super big temperamental mismatch. My parents worked full time, so I was home alone a lot. I was teased horrifically for being overweight. I didn't have the designer clothes. Kids are just mean, right? You think about it, like so many of us were teased, but I had a really hard time. I remember obsessing about stuff. I had some weird things happen. Like I was sleeping over at a friend's house like a lot during the summer, and then suddenly I just like freaked out and I couldn't go to her house anymore, and nobody could figure out what was happening. And they were certain that I had been sexually molested or abused, but I don't know what it was. It was a fear of being trapped at her house and not being able to go home. And so I like could not convince myself that I would stay away from her house. And I was like terrified that my mom would let me go there again. It was really weird. So that plagued me for like, I don't know, a good year or two. And then I know this one, I actually forgot about this. I remember that I was outside at a friend's house, and they had an older brother, and I needed to pee, and I didn't dare go inside. So I decided to pee next to a boat. And after I did, the boy teased me that he saw my vagina, and it literally tore my world apart. And I had like the biggest mental issue from that and had to have therapy. And I mean, anyway, so I was in therapy a lot, lots of crazy stuff happening. So I wanted to get out of my house, and I got married when I was in high school because it was an escape for me. Obviously not healthy, but super nice guy. My mom was pretty supportive. My dad was totally not on board with it, but he ended up being like, okay, whatever, you're going to do whatever you're going to do. So we were really happily married. We ended up having our kiddos. I went to college. I became a pilot. I joined the Air Force. He became a stay-at-home dad. Sounds great. There was a point where he lost himself. And I think it was because he started living his life through me and not living his life at all for himself. And so he was just like gravitating towards all the cool things that I was doing, but he wasn't doing anything for himself. And so then I had a mental breakdown because I was worried about actually the mental health of one of my kids. And so I got out of the military, and my spouse could not adjust back to civilian life. He just couldn't function. And so we got into a huge financial crisis because I wasn't working my amazing military job anymore. He couldn't function enough to get a job, and I was trying to work all these like little piece together professions. And then I had a psychological breakdown from just the pressure of it. And we were just in it was a hot mess. And so at some point, we separated, and we were still living in the same house because he couldn't physically leave. I was worried about him, but I didn't realize that he was at the point that he was at until it was too late. And so he ended up, he went to a nearby place, not maybe even, I don't know, not even 5 miles from our house probably. And he ended up taking his life. So fast forward to now where I completely healed from this. And, you know, there's a lot of self-blame that goes on when that happens to you. Lots of problems going on with my kid, especially my older one. But now I've this when he came to me the other day. I was like, why is this happening now? Like, it's been 2014. It's been a couple years. Like, why is this happening now? And then I realized, oh, duh. You know, I needed to be in the space that I could do this for him. So I was like, oh, okay. So here's what we're going to do. Shane has asked me to clear the space where he took his life. Now, some of you are like, what in the world? When I explained this to Dave, I was like, okay, Shane has reached out to me. I'm like telling Dave, and I'm like, you're gonna think I'm totally crazy. And he was really good about it. He was like, Amy, there's nothing that you say anymore that I'm like surprised by. And I think Dave has seen enough things happen. Like the other day, I knew that Stetson had a rock of some kind and that I needed to see it. And he was like, I do have a rock, and a lady gave it to me. She knew Dad, and she gave it to me and said it was a protection rock. And I was like, I need you to give it to me. I'm like, these rocks and crystals, they need to be balanced and charged just like anything else. I'm like, give me your rock. There's no way that I would have known that he had a rock. I didn't know he had it. He got it from a lady, and he never said anything about it, because when he got it from her, he wasn't even talking to me. And so he had it. And Shane had told me, like, you need to get the rock from, I didn't know which kid had it. Shane just had given me the impression that I needed to get this rock from one of my kids. And I actually thought it was my younger one that had it, because he's kind of a collector like that. Anyway, so Shane has given me this impression about this space. And at first I was like, what am I doing? And he's like, I need you to clear the energy from the space. And so it became very clear to me that the space where he took his life has some trapped energy, and he simply needs it cleared from the space. And so then I was like, okay. And then I thought to myself, is there anything else, that I really need to know about this? And then the next impression was, you need to teach people. And I was like, teach people? What am I teaching people? And then I realized, oh, you want me to teach people how to clear a space. And then I was like, oh, okay, yeah. But then the thought came to me, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. I physically can go to the space where this happened because I actually made someone show me where it was when it did. It's just how my mind works. I needed to see the space. And so I had someone show me where the space was. I also asked for pictures because I couldn't handle it. I had an image in my head of what it looked like, and I actually needed to see it because the image in my head that I was making was way worse than what it was. Okay. So I know where it is. And I said to him, or I, think back to him. If some of you are like, how does this work? How do you really talk to someone that's passed away? It's not a active communication, right? I think something and then I get a thought. I think something and then I get a thought. So I said, this isn't going to work out very well. If you think I'm going to teach people how to clear spaces, not everybody's okay with going back to that space. Not everybody wants to go to that space. So how am I going to teach people to clear space? Or what if it's a client that comes to me or someone I'm teaching how to do this, and we're remote clearing, how am I going to do that? And he said, no. You can clear a space remotely with intention by just thinking about the space. You don't even have to know where it is. Because that was the other thing. I'm like, what if it's traumatizing to somebody that doesn't even know? What if someone took their life and the cops found them and they don't even know where it was? Because maybe it's up in a canyon or something. And he was like, okay, no, with intention, you can still clear the space. And I'm like, okay, cool. So then I really got the impression of, you're going to clear the actual space because you're going to use this as a way to show people how to do it. And you can be in that space and you're going to be fine. And it's going to mean more if you can be in that space to show people how to do it. So I'm telling Dave this, my husband now, and I'm just staring at him because I'm like, so what do you think about that? And he's like, okay, if that's what you need to do and that's what he's asked you to do, then you need to do it. And I was so grateful because I'm like, yeah, so you know what happens when I don't do things that people ask me to do? They don't go away. And then it starts really messing with me and I don't sleep at night and I become very imbalanced. And so then the next question was, when am I supposed to do this? Right? I'm just going to wake up one morning and be like, hey, I'm going to go clear a space, guys. So I'll see you later. And I resonated and I got an impression. Now, I'm not going to tell you when this is happening, and I'm not going to do it live. And here's a couple of reasons. Once again, an impression from him was, you need to not be public about when this is happening, because I have some very negative people on his side of the family that potentially would create a problem for me doing this. There are some people that are absolutely certain that I killed him. And I'm not even kidding. Like, they're not even that long ago, I actually saw a post from a family member of his that was like, one of these days, we're going to find out what really happened to you, and we're going to get the truth behind this. And I was like, okay, so is what really happened is he went and got a gun out of a closet and took 4 bullets and got in his car and drove down the road while Stetson and I were at the grocery store buying bread and milk. And then when we came back home, we realized he was gone. And so I called 911. And then I went to my mom's house because I was really just having this thought that something wasn't right. Because he was supposed to be sleeping, because he was supposed to go work graves that night. And I had seen him in the medicine cabinet earlier, and I thought he was just taking some Ambien or something. So I'm like, you don't take Ambien and then go for a drive, right? So I called. So that's really what happened. Although I have people who were like, she shot him and hid the gun, and the cops are, I mean, you guys want to talk about the weirdest, like, I don't know which one calls conspiracy theory, whatever. So anyway, I had the impression that it was like, don't talk about when you're going to do this, because you don't need to be, met with a confrontation or anything. So I'm not going to tell you when. There is a significant date that means something to both of us. And that is when he has asked for this to happen. So I will do it. I'm not going to go live. And the reason for that is because I don't even know that I can from the space that I need to be at. So I'm going to record it and then I'm going to post it. Now, I'm going to tell you something else. When I first started getting this, I was like, this is insane. I'm not doing it. And he was like, yes, you are. And then I was like, no, I'm not, because people are going to be like, you're just trying to get attention and you're just doing this so that you can blah, 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 post on social media. And the impression that I got right back was, yeah, so we're not here to do things for what people think about us. We're here to do things so we can make a difference, so we can make a change. And I need you to clear the space, and I need you to show other people how to do it, because there's trapped energy there when this happens. And I don't exactly know what that means, right? Because I'm not on the other side and I can't fully see it clearly, because I'm still a little mortal person with a block in my ability. And so I can't see it all. So I don't really know what that means. I definitely don't feel like it's completely blocking him from doing everything that he needs to do, but it's blocking him from something. So we're going to do it. We're going to clear it. Okay. There you go. All right. Now, here we go. Last thing I'm going to tell you. You've been hearing me chirping about it. I am going to be posting information about the program that I'm creating, because I can't do this all by myself. And I have found so many things that have resonated with me that are like not in anything that I've learned from any of the methodologies that I've been involved with. And also because I've realized that I have a huge medical, I don't know what you want to call it, medical intuitive ability, something like that. And I need to share it, because I can only work on so many people a day, and I can't do this all on my own. And every single person, you have the ability to do this. You just don't know that you do, or maybe you kind of think you do, but you don't know how to tap into it. And that's the other problem, is every course that I've ever seen only focuses on like, hey, this is how you do it, but they don't really teach you any of the other stuff that you need to be able to do. So it's missing pieces. You can't just hand somebody a methodology and be like, here, this is how you clear out energy. Because you're missing the part of it that's the cognitive part of people. So yeah, you can tap into the subconscious, but also there's this huge aspect of like, wow, you know what? Being a healer or doing this is really hard. because you're going to be faced with things from other people. You're going to be faced with your own inner battles. And that's the part that doesn't really get talked about, is like, how do I do this? And how do I survive it? Like, how do I survive when I have a client tell me that I did a session on them and it didn't work, right? Because for a lot of people, that's a like total blow, and then they're done and they don't practice anymore because they can't handle it. But there's a reason for it. Or what do I do if, you know, a client books a session and then doesn't show up for it? Like, like that's very psychologically damaging. But there's ways to acknowledge it and ways to deal with it without letting it become a past agreement with yourself that something's wrong with you. So that's the problem, is to be a practitioner, you really have to work and heal yourself, but it can be really difficult to work and heal yourself. But then there's also the other missing thing, and that is the cognitive part of people. Like, you can get someone to a great space and clear out all of their negative energy, but if you don't help them to deal with life from this part, from the cognitive aspect, what's going to happen to them? They're going to fall right back down the rabbit hole. Because basically you pulled them out, but then you left them teetering on the edge. And then, you know, a little wind blows and down they go again. And then they're a hot mess again. So that part is missing from lots of well, every methodology that I've been involved with. So that's what it's going to be. It's going to be an all-encompassing program where I teach you everything. So if you're so totally intrigued, you can send me a message and I'll put you on my list so that you get the emails when I roll everything out. And here's the other thing, right? Because everyone's like, oh my gosh, how much is this going to cost? Because some of the methodologies that I see, guys, they're up where, like, I don't know, I saw one the other day, it was like $7,500. I'm like, yeah, that's not happening. 15 grand. You know, I've had people come to me and say, you don't charge enough because you don't value yourself. And I was like, that's not true. I charge what I feel like I want to charge because that's what resonates with me. And I don't need your permission to do that. It's nothing to do with the fact that I don't believe in myself, or I don't feel like I'm good enough. Like, I saw someone make a comment of, practitioners that charge the amount of money that you charge, it's because that's what you're worth, while other practitioners are charging 5 times what you charge because they're better than you. Okay, that's fine. I want people to have access to what I have. I want people to have the ability to have access to what I have. Not everybody has $7,500 to learn how to heal other people or to heal themselves. So whatever. I'll keep it manageable, and I'm going to keep it affordable for people so that, you know, they can actually do it. I have a true, strong belief that what you put out comes back to you threefold. So yeah, do I have to make some income? Sure. Because you know what? Like, it's not free to live. So, you know, I have to be kind of fair to my family, but I'm not going to try to, you know, build $1 million house off of it. So that's just not me. That's not what resonates with me. Some of this has to be a give because I want people to have access to it. So yeah, people want to compare my stuff to other people's and be like, whoa, it must not be as good because it's like half as much. Super. Whatever. Believe what you want to believe. Believe what you feel comfortable believing. It's really is just based off of a past agreement that other people have, honestly, that money means quality. Money means value, right? But does it really? I've got a lot of free things in life that are pretty cool, honestly. Cool friendships, right? Okay, there you go, guys. All right. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your Monday night. And I don't remember what I was going to say. Anyway, yeah. Have a fantastic rest of your Monday night. If you want to come back and replay this, just so you know, it gets saved on my YouTube channel. Although I will tell you that I really need to go on there and organize my movies and my videos because all of my morning lives are on there too. So I need to create a space with my Monday Soul Deliciousness ones so that you can find them easier. But there you go. Okay, well, I'm off to go figure out what in the heck to make for dinner. And love you guys. Thanks for hopping on here. And yeah.